O'Reilly.
Trust the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts to recommend the best products for your car. Like 5 quarts of Mobil 1 full synthetic motor oil, just $32.95. Extend the life of your vehicle, improve performance, and protect your engine against sludge and wear with Mobil 1 full synthetic. On sale now at O'Reilly Auto Parts and O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
This week at Macy's, get great deals on everything from back-to-school looks they'll love to home essentials to spruce up your space. Like 25% off kids' active gear from Adidas and Champion, and 40% off comfy bedding basics from Charter Club. And Macy's Star Rewards members earn on every purchase except gift cards, services, and fees. Sign up today at Macys.com/Star Rewards. Savings off sale and clearance prices. Exclusions apply.
Matt Jolley, right here on Georgia Radio.
Well, happy Wednesday to you, Matt Jolley here, and glad to be with you today. We're talking all things related to air travel today, and I am joined by one of the best guys in the business for this. He's an aviation attorney. He's a pilot. He's even a flight instructor, television host, author of the book Preemptive Strike. What am I leaving out, Alan? All-around good guy, lover of all things aviation. What am I leaving out, Alan? Alan Armstrong joins me.
Well, I guess aviation addict.
Yeah, yep, that too, and lover of law. I mean, you are a wizard when it comes to wordsmithing. I talked to a buddy of mine the other day that he's an attorney, and I said, why did you get into this? And he said, because I love the English language. And I thought, I've never heard that before from an attorney, but that's so true because you really have to wordsmith. I mean, 99% of what you do is dealing with words and how they lay out.
So, well, when we write briefs, we polish and polish. Every word matters. Yeah. Every word matters. This is a true story. I argued a case in one time, and I came in from arguing the case that evening. My wife said, what did you do today? I said, we argued about the placement of a comma in a sentence. She said, what? I said, we argued about the placement of a comma. She said, why? I said, well, without the comma, it was a dependent clause, but with the comma, it was an independent clause, and that affects the court's analysis about whether there's insurance coverage.
And there you go.
I mean, that is a perfect illustration of the world I live in. People cannot imagine that that's actually the way that we actually live.
Yeah, but it is.
It's true.
And if you're flying this summer or you're booking tickets for this fall, I wanted to have Alan on because we've all been hearing about. We've all been hearing about just the misery that is commercial airline travel right now. And I know there's all kind of things out there that the NTSB says, well, if they delay your flight over 2 hours, there's allegedly a clause that they have to pay you 4 times the value of the ticket change. And there's all this kind of stuff that is probably mostly folklore at the end of the day. But then there's probably some real stuff. Alan, I wanted you on just because, when we're staring down the barrel of that loaded gun that is, I'm sorry, Mr. Jolley, your flight's been canceled, and we can't get you there till next Wednesday, and I'm working in California with a show, or I'm trying to come home, or, Becky and Tammy are coming home from their girls' weekend, and they got to go to work. What are we looking at? I mean, is there any recourse? I mean, really any recourse, or is it just, here we are, and we're at the whim and mercy of the airline? What are we dealing with?
I think it's the latter.
It's the latter. Okay.
We had our response to COVID, and we can debate about whether the response was appropriate or not, but it happened. And the decision was made. We grounded out most of the airlines and laid off a bunch of pilots, and we paid guys to retire. And now we've got a pilot shortage and a flight attendant shortage. Whatever we don't have enough personnel to get it done now. We have airplanes parked because there are no pilots to fly them. And then we shut down the flight training facilities. We let those people go too. The people that train pilots to transition to new airplanes, they've been let go as well. So our capacity to bring new pilots online is greatly diminished, and we just can't satisfy the demands of the public.
You're talking about places like flight safety, and see, I didn't even think about that. The way this works, for those of you that don't understand aviation and whatnot, there are these massive companies out there that have banks of flight simulators, and they train these pilots who are going through upgrade or changing platforms, like from a Boeing jet to an Airbus or whatever. And they do that. And that's not necessarily the company, because the company doesn't have usually the capacity to train that. So they outsource it. And all of that has been disrupted coming out of COVID now. And I didn't even think about that, Alan, but I guess that's true even for flight attendants and baggage handlers and, flight schedulers and everybody.
We don't have the personnel.
So what do we do then? I mean, from a passenger perspective, how do you know if it's going to be reliable to book a ticket?
You don't know. It's Russian roulette. You have no idea.
So you just book it and hope that it works out. And is any of that stuff legitimately true? That we have some type of right?
I've
never heard of it.
I've never seen that. In international travel, there's something called delay damages under the Warsaw Convention. That you do have certain rights. That if your flight is delayed, you can recover delay damages if it's international. But domestically, I've seen nothing.
It's pretty bad when you've got to start quoting the Warsaw Pact, Alan.
Well, that's what you got.
It's pretty bad when that happens. All right. So at the end of the day, there's not a whole lot we can do. We'd be better off maybe buying our own airplane. And people are gonna look at me and they're gonna laugh when I say that. But it's a lot of times it's less money than owning a bass boat to own an airplane. And people they think I'm kidding when I say that, but I'm not. I mean, there are some very, very, even today in today's inflated market, there are some very, very affordable airplanes for, a young married couple or a married couple to hop in and fly somewhere for the weekend. And just about any airplane you buy is going to be about twice as fast as the car. Even one from the 1930s that flies about 100-something miles an hour, it's still going to be faster than the car.
The ratio is about 3 to 1.
Usually.
The airplane's typically is about 3 times as fast as the car.
Yeah.
Roughly.
Thereabouts. Yeah,
but we have to allow for the pre-flight.
And some of that stuff is, it'll run on 5-6 gallons an hour even. So there are ways to do it and save some money and save some time. I want to get into this just a little bit because you are a voracious writer. One of my favorite things that you've written is a book called Preemptive Strike. And I don't want to get too much into it, but I just thought this was so cool. It's based on a secret plan to really stop the Japanese in World War II that goes back to the Flying Tigers. One of my favorite airplanes of all time is the P-40. And even people that don't know what a P-40 is, they remember the plane that had the shark nose on the front of it from World War II. They remember that airplane and the story of the American volunteer group, the Flying Tigers. They were actually they were in China. They were flying around there before the war, but part of that plan was a preemptive strike to keep the Japanese Empire back then under control. Is that an oversimplification of what you figured out?
Well, look upon the Sino-Japanese War as Japan's Vietnam. From 1937 to 1941, they had lost 1 million troops in the Sino-Japanese War. So the plan was to keep them bogged down in that war, making them less effective and less capable of waging war against the British, the Dutch, and the Americans.
There you go. Yeah.
It was really quite ingenious and quite simple. I think it would have been extremely effective if personalities had not gotten in the way.
I love it, and it's got all the makings of a great story, and it's in you can buy the book. I'm guessing just about anywhere, but Preemptive Strike, if you're so interested, based on a document that was discovered in a desk in Pensacola down at the air base. I mean, Just a remarkable story.
Pensacola Naval Air Station, Joint Board 355. Yep.
Yeah. Stuck in the back of a desk. It's a good thing the government never cleans anything out, I mean, it really is.
But the distances from Chichao, a base in eastern China, to the targets in Japan were all mapped out. They knew how long it would take to get there, and it was all worked out.
And the rest, as they say, is history, I suppose. Well,
yeah. Well, the rest is, the book is about why the plan did not happen.
Yeah. I'm looking at the book right now. I've got it here in my office. One of my favorites. I've passed it around to several people, and my apologies, Alan. I should have had them buy it. But they'll say, oh, what's that? I say, well, you got to read it. It's a really great book. You got to read it, especially if you're a history buff. Yeah, I think it's great. People know you from television, too, because they've seen you on a lot of these cable news networks talking about the unfortunate air disasters and things that happen. They love to put you on there because you're a great guy to talk about it. You're a wonderful aviation expert, and you explain things so clearly to people. And you're not the guy that they'll often misquote that says airplanes don't fly well when they run out of fuel.
I tend to prepare for those TV appearances just as though I'm going to court, and I'll research the literature. I'll get the type certificate data sheet for the airplane or for the engine, and the maintenance manuals and things like that, and kind of drill down into it and see what the inspection intervals are and that sort of thing, and have an appreciation for what I'm talking about. And then when I get on TV, what am I going to get? I'm going to get a minute, 2 minutes. So I got to think about in that 2 minutes, what is the most important, second most important, third most important thing I can relate to the audience that I've learned in going over that data. And then you got to make it understandable. You got to make it so that people understand what you're talking about. And I'm not sure if you know this now, but I'm prone to taking my little pointer with me, a little stick.
Oh yeah.
And I'll point at the turbine blades, or I'll point at the winglet or something, and I'll actually physically show them what we're talking about, because they teach us as trial lawyers that if you just tell someone something, a day later they'll recall 25% of it. But if you show them and tell them something a day later, they'll recall 50 or 60% of it. So you're trying to actually teach the audience, actually impress upon them what the data that you've got to impart to them, hoping they'll actually take something from it. So one of my buds, I got a Facebook posting about something, calling me the professor with my
wife. Well, I think that's appropriate after seeing some of these interviews. I wanted to get into this because we kind of was beating up on the airlines earlier, but in your opinion, Alan, is airline travel in America still safe?
Extremely. It's a very, very rigorous environment, and these crews are very highly skilled and highly trained, and it's extremely safe. And we know the statistics that airline travel is statistically safer than, general aviation. 2-man crew, professionally trained, airplanes with anti-icing, de-icing systems, radar, all of the bells and whistles to make travel, safe. And so it's clearly, if you can put up with the cattle call and standing in line and going through TSA, all that nonsense, if you can endure that pain, then it's clearly a good way to travel, assuming that the flight actually comes off.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, assuming that you're not, abandoned at the airport to your own devices. Yeah, right. That means that you're going to have a safe flight if you can get on it. Well, we're going to have to see where this goes, because they really have been taking a lot of liberties with passengers here lately. And I mean, the passengers have really absorbed the brunt of this with oversold situations where they're just, abruptly booted off the flight. And you can't run a business that way. But it's still a whole lot faster than driving. And I just appreciate your insights. I wish there was a magic bullet, though, and some of that folklore was true, that passengers do, in fact, have some recourse or some repercussions. Do you think it'll ever come to that? Do you think passengers ever will have domestically some recourse with these companies?
Only if Congress gets involved. I mean, the mission of the FAA is to ensure flight safety, but they're not there to ensure that there's creature comforts or accountability or things of that nature. That's not what they're there for. They're there to make sure that there's not a smoking hole in the ground.
And they're doing a good job of that. I'll say this much: because of that, because of those rules, it is still safe to fly. I mean, if you look at some of the other cutbacks where they're whittling away your seat space and everything else, just be glad they're not doing that with pilot qualifications or crew qualifications. So, well, good stuff, Alan Armstrong. I appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate your insights on this. If folks want to get a copy of the book, how can they do that? If they're a history nut and they want to go read up on this, how can they get a copy of your book?
I'm sure it's on Amazon. I'm sure you can get out there on the internet copies of it.
And you have a website for your air show flying that you do as well, where you fly around in an old replica of a Japanese torpedo bomber, which is really fun. There's some great YouTube videos on that. Your airplane can be seen at some air shows across the Southeast. Is there one in particular that you're looking forward to?
I'll be going back up to Reading. I'm sorry, I'll be back in Pennsylvania in September.
Okay.
I just came from Reading. I had a show in Reading in June. I had a show in Greenwood Lake, New Jersey in June, and had one in Columbus, Mississippi in March. And so Katie gets around. She's seen shows around the country.
Yeah. Call her Katie because she's a Japanese Kate bomber.
Yeah. You're right. The call sign is Kate. I call her Katie. She's a sweet little airplane. She's very well behaved.
Well, it's a good airplane, and it's fun to watch you go fly around up there, and you're often getting shot at by the Americans.
I've drawn lead on Allied fighter planes during shows, and the air boss invariably says, "Kate, knock it off."
Yeah, you can't go whooping up on him, Alan.
I'm just about to take out an Allied airplane, and for some reason they don't like that.
They cancel your plans. Well, listen, Alan Armstrong, it's been great hearing your voice. Thanks for coming on. I sure appreciate it. All right.
Fun.
Bye-bye.
Georgia Radio, on your phone, in your home, everywhere you go.
O'Reilly.
Stay cool this summer with AC Pro and O'Reilly Auto Parts. Right now, get a $15 O'Reilly Auto Parts gift card after mail-in rebate with the purchase of select AC Pro ready-to-use refrigerant products that include a hose and gauge. Beat the heat before you hit the road with AC Pro at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Matt Jolley, right here on Georgia Radio.
And welcome back to Neighbor to Neighbor. Matt Jolley hanging out here with you. Listen, we have a special guest right now, last minute add to the show. Country music sensation Mark Ware joins us now from his home out there by Concert Cove. Mark, how are you? Glad you're here.
Doing good, Matt. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Don't move. Your signal's breaking up out there on the lake. What are you doing home today? I'm just surprised you're home on this fine Wednesday. But listen, I figured you'd be out doing a Wednesday show or on the road somewhere on a talk show. As busy as you've been here lately, it's a wonder to catch you at home. I'm glad you're getting some rest, hopefully.
Yes, it is a rare weekend off. But here's some good news. We found out we was the showcase artist of the week for a Christian country radio station out of Nashville. So I woke up on a top 10 list. We're gearing up. We're resting. We're gearing up for a Texas run. We're going to be in San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth. And also, Matt, we're proud to announce that we've been asked to open for national recording artists Ray Scott and Scott Haggard. Both of those guys, we're going to go out and help them with their tour and open up for them here coming up real soon.
I wish you all the best of luck on that, Mark. That's some great stuff. And you're playing the Griffin Opera House as well coming up, which is some cool stuff there. You've just always got a lot on your table. How's Miracle doing? I'm just shocked it's not like a number one yet.
Really good. We watch Spotify numbers and we watch the YouTube videos, but we're just trying to get that song on as many playlists as we can. But after I hit Nashville next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we're meeting with a major distribution company that's going to help us distribute our music in that professional way that we need. So we feel that with 300,000 streams that we've done organically, we feel like adding a partner to this to do it the Nashville or the professional way, it's going to just catapult our songs and our streams. So we're really looking forward and, man, just so blessed to have that we have in our camp.
Listen, I think it's wonderful what you're doing, Mark. Your biggest fan right here. Mark Ware, everybody. Thanks again, Mark. I appreciate it. Well, my thanks to Alan Armstrong and my thanks to Mark Ware for hopping on here for just a few seconds with us. And my thanks to you for being here. Truly, truly appreciate it. Got a lot of great music coming up here for you on GeorgiaRadio.com. And listen, the app, I've got to tell you, I'm so excited. Our app is almost ready to launch. If you're not already a subscriber to the newsletter, do that, because when we roll out this app, that's where it's going to release from. So the first people to get notice of it will be the people on our newsletter. It's a free app, and you can just download it from the iTunes store or from the Google Play Store. It's going to be for both Android and for Apple. So Android and Apple. It'll be a lot of fun to use and easy to use with some really cool functionality. The thing that I don't know about you, but I am really excited about this one feature in particular, because it's going to allow you to communicate with the radio station. There's a little button on it. It says Be on the Radio. If you just click the Be on the Radio button, you can send something to me with your voice. Hey, Matt, this is, whatever. I'd like to hear this song, or can you wish my grandmother a happy birthday, or whatever it is. You send that over, and it falls right into our studio box, so we can just magically put you on the air. I'm telling you, some cool stuff on there. Really neat stuff. Got an alarm clock on there. It's got all of the local news and weather for the Georgia Radio listening area all across the Peach State. That'll be on there. And, of course, all the podcast and the live stream. This is what we've really needed, and it's coming out here in just a few more weeks. So be on the lookout for it. It's finished. It's finished now. We're just in the testing phase. So some cool stuff. One of the things that Mark Ware did not mention, but we were talking about it before, is we have a new show that's in the works right now. He is going to host it, and we're going to be featuring some talent, local talent from across the state, as part of our commitment here at Georgia Radio to get people on the radio and give them a home for their music. So if you know somebody, a rising star in traditional country music, send them over to us, because I'd love to feature them, and I know Mark would love to play some of their music. All of that is coming up, and it's all possible because of you. Thank you so much for listening. So long for now, everybody.
Georgia Radio. Good company and great country.
Enjoying the country music.
At Kroger, we believe local produce shouldn't be hard to find. That's why we work with local farms right in our own backyard to bring the fresh produce you love to our stores. From homegrown watermelon that makes your mouth water to crisp corn picked right around the corner. Come pick out some yourself, because shopping for local produce should be as easy as shopping at your local Kroger. Kroger, fresh for everyone.